you can make anything monstrous.
Yes.
And you don't even need a stat block for them. And that's the beauty of the stuff that we talked about, I think. So you can make anything. You can make an apple, you can make a spoon, you can make the gravel in the town monstrous by employing these techniques. Fear, anger, disgust. Those are the golden three. If you can elicit those emotions,
Fear,
anger, disgust. That is human malevolence. Oh, hey. Nice costume. You, going to some kind of party?
My life is a party.
It looks like it.
And you?
What? What about me? I'm just here to do a podcast. But anyways, today's note reads, attention, read out loud exactly what is written on this note or be destroyed and replaced. Welcome to Caffeine and Cantrips, the show where we talk about D&D or else. Another year has come and gone. Can you believe that we're back to that spooky season once again? Well, you're not going to get out of it that easy. No ho-ho-hos for you. Not just yet. For those of you that seek adventure, careful where you tread. There are things that go bump in the night that you just don't want to cross. That's right, my dear survivors. Grab your garlic, harvest your wolfsbane, and sharpen your stitch ripper. On today's episode, we're standing with the dark and learning its secrets. We're making monsters monstrous again. So lock your doors, check under your bed, and make sure you have a ton of salt. It's time to bring spooky back. And welcome back to Caffeine and Cantrips.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Felt a little dready.
Dready?
Maybe a little Pirate Roberts, you know.
Oh, less Judge Dreddy, just more Dreddy.
Yes. No, I didn't feel like the law.
No, I am the law. Anyways, I'm glad you guys can join us for today's very special Halloween episode.
Yeah.
Right.
We know that special day is coming up real quick. In fact, like tomorrow. And we figured that why not help you out with some last minute prep and talk about making monsters monstrous again.
Yes. So you can add that extra some monstrous spice to your monsters on that Halloween night session that you might be having.
Yeah, some dread sauce.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there is a thing in D&D and TTRPGs where monsters are monsters, but they don't feel monstrous after a while. Like, yeah, they're goblin. Yeah, it's a bugbear, right? But they don't feel like a monster, like monstrous, like disturbing and scary, right? They're just something else to suck up my DPS.
Your bag of hit points, yeah.
Right?
Well, it's one of the things that I think we can criticize 5e for because we love to criticize 5e. No, but in reality, I think it's one of the things that the game designers actually edited out of 5th edition to
specifically.
Specifically to make it more appealing to a wider variety of people. Not having all of this like dark, disturbing, aggressive, potentially traumatic lore built into a lot of their creatures has made them easier to field when you just don't know kind of what you're fighting.
I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it becomes a little less interesting, I think, when it's just another bag of HP.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does.
Hopefully, you guys will listen to this and you'll get some ideas, some inspiration there to make your monsters monstrous again.
That's what we need. More dark ideas.
Right? Just slightly gray, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Payne's gray.
Payne's gray?
It's like a really, really dark gray.
Payne's gray.
Yeah.
I learned something new today.
Yeah. Art student. All right, let's drop into it then, shall we?
We shall.
Okay. What should I talk about? I think I'm going to start off by, I think there are things that we do as DMs and things that we don't do as DMs that make our monsters not so monstrous. So if you want more monster, stop doing these things.
Oh, okay.
I've got a couple of them.
This is an inverse relationship.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Stop with the lack of description. Right? Like, I feel like because everyone knows what a goblin looks like, we say, oh yeah, there's 4 goblins, right? And you talk about one has a spear, one has a sword, one has a ratty shield and a dagger, right? We don't go into describing the goblins because we just assume that you know what a goblin looks like, right? But that's not interesting. It's not monstrous, even though they are very monstrous, really, when you think about them, right? Because one of the most significant factors in how we perceive a creature or an NPC or whatever, right, is on how they are described.
I am the monster now.
And if we don't spend the time to describe them in a way that makes them feel monstrous, they won't. Okay?
Yes, this is true.
And it really does diminish that sense of monstrosity. For example, like I said, you see a goblin. Cool. In my mind, it's a small creature. It might be cute, might not be cute. It's green, maybe, right? Kind of in rags. But it doesn't really invoke the same kind of feeling if you say, yeah, before you is a goblin, right? And you notice that he has a menacing, bloodstained smile, right? And he's wearing a belt made out of shrunken human heads with all the expressions in a perpetual state of tormented screaming, right? Like, all of a sudden, it's more than just, oh, it's a goblin that I'm going to kill an HP. It's something else, right? It implies something monstrous about that goblin now.
Right.
Even just that, with that simple extra little bit, they're more than just a goblin now. Like, it changes what's in the minds of the viewers.
Right.
Hopefully, right?
Yeah.
Next, I think, stop it with the stereotypical behavior. Now you say goblins, oh yeah, goblins, they're like these little savages. They just kill and take whatever they want, and that's it, right? Right, and because those behaviors are so familiar to us, they feel very one-dimensional, right? And because they're one-dimensional, they're less monstrous, right? Like in our last example, if we just say, yeah, they're goblins and they're just mindlessly aggressive, they don't have any depth, they don't have any motivation behind what they do. It's just what they are, whatever, right? But if you why that last description of them with his like that bloodstained smile as he views the adventuring party and that belt of screaming human heads, right? It implies that this is not a typical goblin, right? And that the PCs need to pay particular attention to this goblin especially for whatever reason. Just because in our minds, like, oh no, this is a different type of goblin now. Does that make sense?
It does. Right? It does.
So don't just let them be just run-of-the-mill goblins or creatures, because then that's all they'll be. And the run-of-the-mill creatures aren't monstrous. They don't feel monstrous. Okay? The next thing, stop with, I think, the excessive use of combat for your encounters. Right? Right. While combat is one of the great pillars of D&D, I think overemphasizing combat encounters with monsters will make them, again, feel like just another obstacle, right? Rather than something that's truly monstrous, right? It's like, oh yeah, we're bedding down for the night, and whoever's on watch rolls a 1. You're like, oh, we're gonna be attacked by something. We just need to kill them, and then we can get on with the night, right? Like the loot, it might be good, it might not be good. It doesn't matter. We just need to get over it, right? Because every time it's just something. Oh, random encounter, it's a bunch of wolves. Okay, let's just kill it so we can keep on going to the town.
Oh, loot double OT. Sorry,
yeah, nothing. Not hard loot.
You roll like a nat 1 on your watch, and then in the forest, ding, ding,
Ding, ding, ding, ding, ding.
But creepy. Creepy. Right? It's like, oh, it's nothing, says
Right.
that one.
It's that blood-stained, mouth-smiling goblin belt of human skulls or shrunken human heads and playing the lute. Ding, 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 ding.
With the
ding,
heads.
Ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding. Right?
Yeah, they're all tuned picks.
Good evening, adventurers.
He's like, hey, what's up?
That's creepy. You're like, what is this?
What?
DM.
Hey, you're the one who
Right.
rolled a nat one. I'm just letting the dice tell the story.
Right? But so consider adding in non-combat encounters and role-playing opportunities involving monsters to sort of deepen that impact, right? Consider using multiple encounters to build something deeper and greater, right? Like maybe one night you don't see the goblin, but you see the footprints all over the camp, right? Next night, one of the horses are gone, except the head. Right. The next night, the people on maybe the people on watch they notice shadows around the edge, right, moving around. Nothing approaches, and when they go investigate, there's nothing there. Right. You can build up this feeling of something else with the multiple encounters that aren't necessarily just combat. Right. And then when you bring the combat in, if you want to do that, it becomes much more impactful. And the last thing I think is probably the biggest one is if you fail to evoke atmosphere around your whatever it is you want it to feel more monstrous. I think because I don't know if we're lazy or we just don't think about it sometimes. Sort of setting the context around what is it that we want to feel monstrous to make it feel more monstrous. And I think because
what is monstrous to make it feel more monstrous? Yes.
Right. Like the context around the monstrosity.
Yes. No,
right?
it's very important what you just said.
It's super important. For example, say, I don't know, it's the middle of the night and the party of adventurers are tired. They're hungry, right? And they're walking through an old sort of growth forest. Okay. To get to the town. They need to push the town.
Okay.
And the towering trees, right? They cast eerie shadows, and their gnarled branches resemble skeletal fingers in the night. Right? As the party advances cautiously, their footsteps are muted in the night silence. They enter a small clearing, and they see there in the middle a single perfect-looking apple with deep red skin, like polished rubies, and it's resting on this moss-covered stone. And it seems out of place. It's a stark contrast to the gloom and the decay of the old forest around it. The forest grows unnaturally still, right? The nocturnal sounds quiet. And as one of the adventurers, say they go to investigate, they approach the apple to investigate, there is an unsettling shift in the atmosphere. The whispering breeze rustles through the branches like ghosts whispering or murmuring in the night. Right? The shadows deepen, gnawing at the edges of the torchlight. Right? There's an inexplicable unease that settles into the air as nature itself seems to hold its breath. And in the moonlight, the apple's hue appears to glow with an otherworldly light. Its sweet flesh promises sustenance, safety, peace. You can almost feel that fruit smugly grinning at you as you reach towards it. And then whatever happens, right? But maybe it's just an apple, right? Mundane in every way. But it's the atmosphere that was described around it that makes it feel like something else, something that is potentially monstrous. Right? And that's what I mean by evoking the atmosphere. If you combine all these things, when you're trying to make something feel like a true monstrous entity, it goes a long way to sort of letting the players feel like it is, right? Even though it's really mechanically, maybe it's just a goblin.
One of the things that I would do in order to add that malevolence or that monstrous nature to it is never actually come out and say the apple. Never say the goblin.
Right.
And in a way, like in your kind of first description, right? The goblin's blood-soaked, menacing smile, right?
Mhm.
I wouldn't start there. I would start
Right.
like in some other place. I think when we see something that is creepy or weird or whatnot, we don't, I think practically, we don't take the whole snapshot of it
Mhm.
and kind of consume the whole snapshot at one. We look for the details and then we build ourselves back out.
Right.
So doing that in your narration, standing amongst the shade of the firelight at the edge of your camp, you see half a dozen faces twisted in torment staring back at you. Start with the belt.
Right.
And then grow your vision to include more and more of the goblin, right? And then never say the goblin. Finish with the green-skinned creature's face is splashed with a crimson, which you know to be the color of blood. That, taints its like yellow teeth or whatever, right? But that never kind of finish and just being like, yeah, it's a goblin.
Right.
Right? Because when you leave more of that mystery in people's faces, that is an interesting way of prompting more horror.
I mean, it depends on how, I guess it depends on how monstrous you want to make it. Right.
Right.
Because of course the unknown is much scarier.
Well,
right.
and knowing the unknown is an interesting thing that I think is actually more difficult than it sounds. But when we're describing things, just say it like it bears its teeth in a critching manner. And you're like, well,
what's a critching manner?
What's a critching manner, right? And you're just like, oh, in my head, it's just what it is. But to each player, that can mean something different. That can still give an evoke.
Mom? Yeah. What?
What?
What goes on in your house?
I clean my room.
Brutal. I'm sorry.
When we do stuff like that, it does create that kind of question of what is that? Why is that something familiar but unfamiliar at the same time?
Right.
And that can like do some work on the other side for them to generate fear and interest.
Right.
When you don't kind of give it.
Right.
Yeah. And so it's a subtle change, but I think in practical application, it's worked better for me to do it that way.
Interesting.
And to explore it that way. Apart from all of the other things that players would do. No, I got a 19 on my perception. What do you mean I can't see what's in the shadows? Oh, I have a devil sight. I can see 120 feet. There's nothing gnawing at the edges of my vision. You're like, no, shut up. It's not your torchlight. It's at the edge of your vision, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to have to play around what it is that you guys have, but ultimately, like, work with me a little bit here.
Well, that's a caveat. Players can ruin anything.
Oh,
if the players don't lean into things, if they don't have the buy-in, you don't buy-in from the players, it doesn't matter what you do.
I think it's interesting. I think I've curbed my narration to include that, include what the players' caveats and special abilities and dark visions and blah 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 will include, to further push those kind of things to the back of their mind and let them experience the horror that's in front of them.
Right.
And I think it's fun in that case because a lot of times you can then go into kind of furthering what's happening there. Right. And like you said, with the experience that they're going to enjoy.
Right.
What kind of experience do you think someone could enjoy
I think
this moment of tinglingness?
I can think of a couple.
A couple?
Two specifically.
Yeah.
One is clicking on the like and subscribe button.
Oh, hey, that's fun.
Yeah, for sure. Deepen that experience, the podcast experience.
Go so deep on that. Yes. And since you've liked and you've subscribed and hit that little bell, you can join us every week because we're coming to you with this kind of fun, super awesome content. Yeah. Also, name my costume in the comments.
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
Whatever it is, we'll find a prize this Halloween. We'll figure out a prize. Okay. For best name.
Sweet.
We'll do that. And that's a fact. But
I like it.
When you're dealing with it, I thought that I needed to rubric out my thoughts on this, like I generally do. And in this case, I went back to my little tried and true 3 pillars.
I did mention the great pillars.
Yeah, the great pillars.
The great pillars of D&D.
You mentioned 3, not number 4, which is missing. No, in this case,
they're not you don't have to go 1, 2, 3.
No.
Not in order.
But what I liked what you said, and something that I want to kind of push a little bit more, is don't overdo combat. Right?
Yep.
Before you get to real combat with these creatures, we have to explore. And in the words of kind of probably one of the first scary tales we might tell our children.
Okay.
Dear grandmother, what a deep voice you have.
Little Red Riding Hood.
Little Red Riding Hood, as we know her now.
Yeah.
But
Little Red Cap? I don't know. The translation doesn't.
No, red caps are very different. They are very crazy.
It's the translation.
Yeah. And it was Italian, I think, first. But anyway.
That's German. Anyways, whatever.
Whatever it is. Nonetheless, I do think that's good when we are creating more experiences that don't necessarily have to do with combat, but they probably had to have dealt with combat. So that's where the goblin has attacked a caravan and left survivors. And now you're coming to the aftermath of that. Or they made away with their ill-gotten gains. Maybe they raided a local farm or whatever. Now you're following like the weird grabastic feast of like what's left over, the remnants of the animals and the bones gnawed on and whatnot. You're still dealing with combat-esque things. You've still got NPCs that you've been brutal to because that's what NPCs are for. But these are not combat encounters for the party.
Right.
And I'm going to talk about it in a sec, but I think there's rules that we have to follow if we're going to make things monstrous. Because there's rules on what we have to expect from our monsters that are a good thing. They're unwritten rules that define them. Okay. Yeah. But to build to that, I think the first thing that we have to do is create that fear and suspense. Okay. So that's that slow role play, social investigation encounters that we have before we actually ever meet with the beast.
Right, that the non-combat encounters.
The non-combat. Yeah. Oh, we were stationed at the farmhouse because the farmer said that his livestock's being attacked. Right. We came in for supper, right? And then we heard the goats screaming, right? By the time that we got there, a goat was dead, a goat is missing, there's a blood trail that leads off into the forest, okay, yada, yada, yada. This can then start to inform that we're dealing with something that is starting to deal with some of the vulnerability or psychology or whatever that we want to attack within the party. Maybe this is a one beast and we want to push that side of it. Maybe it is a malevolent creature that's smart enough to wait until dinner happens because he knows that's when all the watchers go away. Right. And that's the time to strike. Yeah. But maybe we're also starting to target, or we want to target, a vulnerability or a weakness in the group. To specifically kind of go, hey, you have trouble dealing with this. This is the thing that I want to push because I want to target not only the PC, but I need to get the player involved a little bit here too. Right. And we want to push that. Well, because there is a difficulty, I think, in a lot of times for us role-playing genuinely. You're surrounded by 100 men. I can take them. Why? Because I'm a level 15 fighter and I can do this. Right. Right? And you're just like, okay, well, forget that for a second.
It's a cart full of clowns. Can you really take care of them?
How many clowns are really in the cart? You
in that wagon, know. The covered wagon.
Yeah, in the covered wagon of doom.
I've already killed 10 of them. How many more can there be?
Yeah, it's personal fears and phobias of the PCs, right? Can be really good to push against and leverage to make them more terrifying.
A listener probably thinks I'm terrified of clowns.
Well, you are. Just people in general. just in general.
You're all clowns.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of them.
Now, defining the strengths and weaknesses in the monsters can also change, right? This goblin has collected trophies. He's obviously a successful hunter. Yeah. Something is different about this one than, like you said, the ones that just attack. There's something different, and he plays the lute. That's what it is.
He lures you in, and he's like, then he switches to like some horrible song, and you scream, and then he kills you. He shakes your head.
And shakes your head, and then that's it. He makes little whistles out of them.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. That's really creepy.
Whistles.
Too. Yeah.
Screaming whistles.
Screaming whistles. Why not? Why not flex on some of that and change the goblin ever so slightly to adapt it to a vulnerability or weakness within the
make
party,
it monstrous,
right? Yeah. And push it towards the psychology of the party to make and intensify that potential fear.
I like that idea they talk about, like building that suspense and the fear before you even see the creature. Because our favorite vengeance paladin, John Wick, right? He feels, I mean, he killed a bunch of guys. Cool, right? He feels badass. But what really makes him feel badass is it's all the other characters in the movie talking about how badass this guy is and how much they fear his retribution.
Sure.
Right? Like building that the context around a certain character without that character being there is actually really effective. I think, and it's similar to what you're talking about, right?
Conversely, it also targets our weakness. So the awesome part about John Wick isn't necessarily that he can go around and be a badass.
Mm-hmm.
It's that he feels so terribly about the thing that he lost.
Right.
We can relate to him in the loss. And now he can express his anger and frustration back onto society in a way that we can't.
Right.
Right.
We can't, guys. Don't do it.
No. But that's I think one of the reasons why our favorite vengeance paladin is so rounded as a character because it fosters a layer of complexity and sympathy within it,
right?
That we as the viewer can understand, and when they go off and do their thing, we know why they're doing it.
So you're saying switch this around and do that for monsters?
Do that for the monster. Okay. Develop. So we mentioned Little Red Riding. Well, I mentioned Little Red Riding Hood, but think of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Okay.
Think of something where there is something that the creature cannot control about themselves, right? Maybe this is the first time that the guard turned into a werewolf because they were protecting the town from werewolves and got bit. And now he's turning on the people that he once protected.
Why would he do that?
Right? Why would he do that? Because it's fresh meat, baby. But this then adds a layer during the day, 27 days out of the month. Perfectly fine, upstanding citizen.
Yeah.
3 days, lock him in a cage or else all hell's going to break loose, right? But now we don't necessarily want to kill him or just outright kill him. We don't want to treat him like just a bag of hit points because there's a backstory that we can sympathize with.
Harry Potter style. Remus.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Sure. Not Harry Potter himself. He wasn't a werewolf.
But yeah, perfectly good character has a flaw. Right. And so we have to accept and deal with that. Mm-hmm. Right. Same thing. I can't even remember what his name was. The guy in the band in Buffy that was like in love with Willow.
Xander?
No. The other guy played by the short guy, the ginger.
Oh, Seth?
Seth. Yeah, Seth. Something.
Why do I know that?
Yeah. Anyway, so that guy, right? Perfectly good, great character, hero, but also a werewolf. Right. And had to deal with those sorts of things. So creating these dilemmas involving the monster adds depth to the story. It also reinforces those non-combat scenes. Right? We come to you in the day. You're not a monster. We have a perfectly good conversation with you. At night, you turn and we can no longer have that conversation with you. Right. What do we do then? Right. Because we like the guy during the day. 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 2 thumbs up. Right. 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., 2 thumbs down.
On duty and off duty.
Yeah.
You better run.
Better run, right? I'm giving you a head start. Sun's going down, big guy. Right? It can create a rather interesting twist when you can develop sympathy or complexity for that. Perhaps when you're dealing with a beast, right? You go, oh, look, the loggers have pushed out all the natural prey. Right. The beast is starving. It can't just pick up and move because maybe it's got young or maybe it's got whatever, right? And so now it is forced to hunt men because men are the only prey in its declining space. Right. This is why it's pushing back. Not because it has a malevolence of its own, but now it's figured out humans are way easier to kill than, I don't know, elephants or giant elk
or that creepy ass goblin.
Yeah. So now it's going to hunt people. And so this thing gets real good because it is an alpha predator in its area. Right. But now it's just hunting people. Okay. We can take that and go deeper because now we can go, oh, wait, the people pushed into the area and now they're suffering the consequences of that. Can we stop that? Can we log elsewhere? Can we do we just kill it? Right. It provides more opportunity for question and answer. Okay. So definitely, I think fostering that sympathy and complexity. And this then leads us to establishing that consistency and logic behind the monster. So
yes. Okay.
when we have predictable behavior patterns and weaknesses, we can deal with that in a narrative much better. Right? Jason, right? Invulnerable killing machine.
Right.
The only thing that we can do is slow him down or like drown him back in the lake or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. But he will just keep coming back. And we know that he will keep coming back.
Right.
Right.
Or Freddy Krueger, right?
Freddy can
Don't
only
sleep.
get you in your dreams.
Yeah.
Right. If we go into real life horror, right? Jack the Ripper.
Oh, you have to sell your body for money first.
He targeted specifically prostitutes in one section of London.
Right.
Right. And he only killed with a knife. Right. And then so we know that this is a real life mystery. We also know that as the police started investigating and started trying to figure it out and whatnot, the victims slowed down in their frequency. Right. So there was an evolution.
Like
to
an
the
awareness
rules.
of what's going on. Yeah.
Yes. And like a response to what the party or what else might be happening there. But there's a logical consistency. So it's not just a chaotic beast. This thing has rules that can be understood.
Well, it has a will.
Yes. Yep. And being able to understand it is very important. Right? That's going to be one of the things that I think will attribute this directly to being horror or monstrous, is the ability to empathize, sympathize, or logically understand what's going on there, because it is twisted. When you get to the other side of the looking glass, right? Yeah. It is the mirror reflection of what's going on. And it's important that in that mirror reflection, you can track back and you can see how it's ingrained and locked into the world, because it has a real motivation. It has a real origin that you can like taste almost.
Yep. Okay.
Right. As you go through it. And that will maintain your narrative integrity. Right. That's going to hold everybody in their seats locked in for the whole goblin playing the riff. Right. Right. Because they don't want to be the next head on the belt.
Yep. Yep.
Right. Because maybe that's what it is. The first person to like boo or react negatively to the goblins playing, that's the next head on the belt. Right? Or the person who cheers the least when he's done.
One of you is going to be on the belt.
Right. One of you is going to, only one.
Yeah.
Right. So the person who doesn't cheer the loudest, the person who interrupts first, the person who whatever, right, interrupts the performance. Right. Okay, great.
Creepiest bard ever.
Now we have an understanding, and you can look around the table and go, who's going to break first? Right. We know the rules. We know what's going to set it off.
Right.
And knowing the outcome, knowing that something scary is supposed to happen, increases our awareness of that monstrous, horrific thing that's there.
It's like leaning over a steep, tall cliff, knowing that the fall is coming if you keep going. That's scary. Right? If you didn't know about the fall, you'd be like, well, whatever. Right? It's that potential danger. Yeah.
And that's where I think, going back to what I said before, was starting with the little things and working your way out in what you're seeing or what your senses are giving you, also will help you if you're struggling to create something that is building that tense narrative. Oh, what do we see? We only see the claws on the side of the tree that scrape and leave those deep grooves.
Right.
And we can hear it rustling off through the brush. Right? It's long gait thumping heavily into the woods until it disappears into the silence. Right? Okay. We get to see that little bit and then nothing. And then see another little bit and nothing. And then we're putting this like weird patchwork thing together in our heads that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But then we're combining this with the psychological side of understanding it, not understanding it.
The importance about the rules and the consistency is that you let the players understand a certain amount, but make it hard enough to understand how it comes together.
Yes.
So that fear of the unknown is still there.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. But you know that in Hansel and Gretel, the Wicked Witch is going to eat them. Right? You know that the gingerbread house is a trap. It's bait, right?
Yeah.
But then you learn, because they want, that's bait. Because you then learn, she wants to fatten up the kids.
Yes.
That's why she teases them with sugar and treats.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, okay, there is a logical consistency for the motivations of the villain.
Right.
right?
Right.
And why they're so horrible. I
Mhm.
don't just want to eat you. I want to fatten you up first.
Right.
Ooh,
She received lots of donations from Big Sugar companies.
Damn you, Big Sugar. Damn you.
What are you doing to
You
society?
won the war against fats and then you started after the German children. Okay. I think
The real monsters.
the real monsters. Yes. Yeah, I mean it's Hans. Yeah. Changing what the monster does within its
Mhm.
logical consistency, I think is also important. And it will tell you as a DM or as the narrator
Right.
how it's going to react.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Until maybe the PCs have pushed it so far into a corner that it can no longer do that. And then it becomes this wild thing.
Right.
But then they don't know. They've unleashed the inner chaos.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the last thing for really kind of getting through that exploration side of monsters is refuse to Deus Machina your party.
What does that mean, Deus Machina?
Refuse to introduce a completely disconnected win condition because the party's in so much trouble that they need it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think if you're looking to go seriously horrific, seriously monstrous, seriously whatever, hope is such a powerful stranglehold that you can kind of put on them that if your party gets used to a lifeline always being there for them,
Right.
obviously session 0 this out, but like understanding that having last minute interventions, Deus Ex Machina, sorry, it's a Deus Ex Machina, can change the expectations and adjust the integrity. Oh, I never have to worry about this actually being a PC killer because the DM's always so nice. A paladin will walk through or a cleric comes through that has just the right thing and blah, 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 blah. Or the rocks will fall and but nobody knocked over the stack or whatever.
They did an experiment about that, eh?
With rats?
With rats.
Yes.
Yeah, and water.
Yeah.
Where they would put these rats in a bucket of water and where they couldn't climb out.
Mhm.
And then what they would do is that some rats, they would do it multiple times. And right before they would be so tired they would drown, they would take them out. Right, and save them. They do that multiple times. And they put these rats who've gotten used to being saved in with rats who weren't. It was the first time. And they discovered that the rats who are used to being saved will last longer. They'll try to swim for longer, whereas the other ones will just give up hope and drown.
Well, and that's why I think hope is such a powerful kind of antidote to the fear in this case, because you can go, no, our bravery, our efforts, our like problem solving skills can best this. Right? We know that we can do better than it. We just have to hold on. We just have to keep fighting and we'll make
something will happen. Yeah.
And something will happen that we will create.
I guess, yeah, that's a certain type of campaign. You can be real like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Again, if this
Not
is
for
for your
everyone.
Halloween one shot or whatever.
Oh,
right?
for one shot? Yeah.
Go brutal.
Yeah. I can see those characters again anyways.
Probably not.
Right?
Unless they got like repeting one shots.
Right. The question is, how are these characters going to die?
Yeah.
Right?
Scarred and battered.
Right? Rat hope. They're all going to drown in the end.
All we need is rat hope, guys.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's exploration, I think, when we're starting to get to know what the beast is and how to determine its strengths, its weaknesses, its rules. Right? How do we track it? What are we looking for? Its clues and all that kind of stuff. Because we need to understand it before we can fight back.
Okay.
Properly.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think though, I mean, it's scary, but I think if you want to make something truly feel like monstrous.
Okay.
Because especially in real life monsters, I feel like the thing that makes something truly monstrous is humans.
Oh,
Humans
sure.
are truly monstrous. Like animals aren't. As humans, there is something that's wired into us, I think, that we cannot sort of fight against very easily. And it's something called the Uncanny Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And what that is, for those of you who may not be familiar with it, is the phenomenon where as something becomes more human-like in appearance and behavior, there's a point at which it provokes a sense of unease in us, like a discomfort, or even fear, when it falls short of being convincingly human. Right? Like it's this valley, right? Like if you think of like cartoons, they're not scary because we know they're not humans. They're symbols of humans, and so we can accept them. Things that look and act just like a human, we're not scared of, right? It's those things that are almost human, but they're not quite. That's the Uncanny Valley, and we're like, whoa, that's weird.
Like
that's
those bugs in Mimic.
Yes.
Or the screamers in Screamers.
Right? It's that uncanny feeling that comes out from something that's close enough, and it sort of it triggers this expectation in our brains of this thing should behave and like a human and look like a human and have emotions like a human. But there's just enough subtle difference and imperfections that make that thing feel eerie or unnatural, right? Because you're not human, but you're close enough that I want you to be human, but you're not, right? So think of like those AI robots that like move around and they talk, and they're like, no, AIs will take over the world, we'll kill all the humans. You're like, that's creepy, right? Or
ChatGPT reset,
or like those old classic like porcelain dolls. They just sit there and they stare.
Right.
Or the ones that with the eyes that like blink when you
lay them back.
Yeah. Or skinwalkers. Or like the xenomorphs from the Alien movies, like with their like human mouths and lips. Like they have like these flat human teeth in the front, with only a couple of the incisors in the back.
Well, they take the base human. The ones that you're talking about.
The human ones.
And then they
from the Alien and Aliens.
And then they xenoform them.
Yeah,
right?
and their form is creepy because it's vaguely human, and you're like, no, you shouldn't be. You should just.
Well, the first one was.
Yeah.
Right. It was a human in a rubber suit.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Well, not only was it kind of before CGI, but it was a human doing that.
Yeah.
Right. That I think that's extra why it felt uncomfortable.
Right.
Right.
Like I used to have a recurring nightmare when I was younger. It was
a phobia.
No. I still don't like them. I don't like mannequins because they're like humans, but they're not. My nightmare
is that why you always mess with them?
Don't you move? But my nightmare was it's at night, and I'm in, I don't know, like this mannequin storage warehouse.
I think you mentioned this before.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's this dimly lit, of course, and there's mannequins everywhere in all these positions, and they're stored, right, in boxes and not in boxes. And the feeling was that just out of my sight, like the mannequins are watching you. And you're looking at the mannequins and you're like, are you going to move? Are you going to move? Then all of a sudden one just goes, all right. And it would terrified me.
An iRobot situation.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, anyways, it was creepy. It's that uncanny, like you're not supposed to be human, but human enough that I don't like it, right? But this also works for things that aren't human, right? That have human-like qualities.
Otherwise known as anthropomorphic.
Less furries.
Well,
but I know what you mean by anthropomorphic.
Yeah.
It's like dogs shouldn't laugh, right? At like I fell down, my dog laughed at me. What?
I laughed, the dog laughed, the couch laughed.
It's just like no.
Wait, what?
That's all of a sudden unsettling. Like why is that daft? The dog is like, you're like, what? I mean, I'm sure you can make those sounds, but not in a manner that sort of that I can infer that you're deriving pleasure from me falling down and being in pain.
Right.
That's creepy. Can you not do that, dog? Like, I'm probably gonna get a new dog very soon if that happened.
Well, careful.
Right.
They're listening.
I don't have a dog. I have a cat. And I know he derives pleasure from my pain.
Oh, he definitely does. He definitely does.
So it's this expectation versus reality in the mismatch thereof.
Right.
That is creepy, right? So when we recognize something, our brains automatically assume that it's going to behave in a familiar and predictable way.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we make sense of a chaotic world. But we can't be like, because really, if you think about it,
I'm thinking
no apple is the same.
No.
But we don't have that much brain power to be like analyzing every single apple and how it's not the same and how this time eating an apple might be different than last time, right? For us, it's the idea of an apple. It's close enough. I'm going to bite it. It's going to taste a certain way. Cool. Right? I've categorized in that apple image in my
agree.
brain, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I go to buy apples, I expect a certain kind of experience from that apple.
Yes.
Right.
And that's based on the rules of apples.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. That you formed in your brain. And we do that naturally.
Yes.
Right. So when something doesn't behave or in the way that it's supposed to, according to the rules that we built in our head, that subverts that familiarity and that comfort that we have associated with that thing of knowing how the rules are, right? Like you said, becoming familiar, like building that context around it.
Correct.
Like you building the rules, saying the rules for this thing is not the same as what you want it to be.
Yes. Similar, right, but different.
Different enough that you're
how
like,
and why? Yeah, that's the pain point, right? That's what you got to figure out.
That's that uncanny feeling, right? Like, I need to pay attention, right? And all of a sudden your DEFCON goes up, right? Because it's not just an apple, right? It's some creepy grinning apple in the middle of a forest.
It's a papple.
A papple. Hey, papple, get over here.
Papple's
where's my tools? Where's my skinning kit?
You said pappy? No.
Anyways, yeah, so these things disrupt our sense of safety.
My papple comes from the orchard.
Because things that are predictable are safe. Because we know how to deal with things. Safer. Right?
Yeah.
If we're like, right, like we know how to, I know how sushi is. It's like eating raw fish is not creepy to me anymore. Right?
But fugu might be.
Because it's true, right? Because
that's the poisonous blowfish.
Yes. Because I'm not familiar with it.
Right.
And things that aren't familiar equals potential danger.
Yes.
Right? It's the fear of the unknown versus the safety of the known, right? And this is actually a primal reaction that we have in our brain, and it's really hard to work against it.
Oh, tell me more.
No, we're as humans, evolutionary sort of journey. Now we've the ones who have wired in their brains to notice and respond to anomalies and deviations in the norm survive the longest. Obviously, right? Like, oh, there's a weird sound coming from the bushes. I'm going to pay attention to that because that's different, right? And it's probably a tiger or something, right? So therefore, I survived, and the person who didn't notice it didn't, right? So it's actually hard coded into our brains to notice things that are different and be wary of it, right? And if things are supposed to be familiar but they're not, we're extra wary of it because then it feels like something's hiding. Yeah. So that's the uncanny valley. And if you work that into the stuff that we talked about previous there, it just adds a real sense of, an extra sense of monstrousness to things.
And what a crazy, fun, insidious way of adding that kind of stuff. Like, oh, you return to your room at the inn. Everything looks the same.
That's so mean. That's so mean.
Well, whether there was something there or not, maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. Maybe that's been something that the character's been dealing with all day.
Right.
It's something that's been messing with them kind of psychologically, right? Oh yeah, the tavern looks the same, right? Like you've been in a room, but somebody else has been in this room between you and then.
Right.
Or between now and then, right? And it's just like, yeah, in a tavern general room, I accept this. This is a rule of normalcy.
Or if you go to the tavern and like, oh, the bard's singing his nightly song and he strums on his lute, ding, 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 ding. and it's a very familiar tune.
You know this tune from somewhere.
Right, and if it's the same
Yes.
tune that you heard in the
Right.
middle of the night I mean, you're like, what? This is not right. All of a sudden, and it's super creepy, and you're like, what is going on? And all of a sudden, your danger sense is amped up to like 100%.
Danger.
Right?
Yes, but that's a good thing.
No, that's what you want. It's Halloween.
Because that's what you want in Halloween, sure. But in going forward, if we want to go beyond that to anything monstrous, anything more scary, anything more kind of whatever that extra.
Right.
I don't know what it is.
It's human, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not human, but it is.
Yeah. And I think, and I appreciate you reinforcing that kind of that closeness factor and then that valley, because that's reiterating what I said before in talking about how when things become known to you and then why are they deviant from that? Why are they different? What's changed about them that doesn't have them going in the right way? Yeah. That gets screwy.
Yeah. Because if it's too close to being human, then it's just a surprise when they're not. Right? You're not, it's not creepy before that. If they're almost human, but not enough, it's super creepy.
Yeah. Like your typical werewolf, wolf were.
Yep.
Yeah. Throw that in.
At the same time.
It was a wolf the whole time. It was never a man.
One of them was a wolf were. One of them was a werewolf, and they fell in love.
Oh, no, they really don't like each other.
They
really don't like
It's just
each other.
Romeo and Juliet's story.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like a Baldur's Gate 3 storyline.
The Capulet. The Capulet to the wolf wears. Right.
Oh, okay.
And the
Montagues.
Yeah.
And the werewolves.
Yeah.
I bite mine. Woo, at you, sir.
Do you bite your woo at me?
Well, while you're biting your own aru.
Oh, why don't you bite our arus?
Yeah. Jump on that smash that subscribe. And hopefully you too will find true love before the star-crossed lovers thing comes
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I like it.
Me too. And also,
bite my aru.
what would you? Such a good scene. Such a good scene. Jump in the comments. What scene would be made better if it was Romeo and Juliet, but with wolves? Let us know. Let us know. Oh, Tybalt is effed. Prince of Cats, not in my forest.
That's why he dies.
Jerk face.
They all die.
Not all of them. Not Juliet.
Yes, she
Juliet?
does. She kills herself.
Oh, Juliet. Oh, and then doesn't she wake
if
up?
she's probably Catholic, she goes straight to hell too.
Well, that's suicide. Doesn't she fake poison and then
She fake poisons and then
he daggers?
and then she wakes up and and then she kills herself too.
Oh, Happy Dagger?
With his dagger.
Okay. That's a 2 for dagger.
Yeah.
Good job. But
2 points sway right there.
2 points. It's 49 XP for stabbing a wounded girl. Sliding on to our monstrous thing. Yeah, we love classical literature here. Jumping into conflict and staying true to my theme, this section I think I will call Grandma, what big hands you have.
Oh, Big Hand Grammie.
Big Hand Grammie.
Tell me about her.
Tell me about Big Hand Grams. Some ASMR there.
Some big hand.
I
ASMR.
think that if you have not successfully completed creating your monster and splitting it into the 3 pillars, you are doing it a disservice.
Okay.
Yes, because if you jump straight into combat or you overemphasize combat without the exploration,
right,
then it's not a monster. It's just a hit bag of hit points, and once it hits 0, game over.
It's just a mob.
Peasy, right? It's just a mob again. And that's not what we're looking for. We want something to be more either equal to or more of a threat in hit points and combat tactics in their mind than it is on the field.
Yeah,
right?
that's what it is.
It needs
too,
to be something that's also kind of
Yeah.
gnawing away in their own kind of creative mental space. And so one of the things that we can do when we are keeping things similar but different is we can enact a sense of powerlessness. Now you have to be a little bit careful with this one because we don't necessarily want to pull away player agency.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
But we can invoke that fear when people are unable to control their circumstances. We can overwhelm what they thought was their strength with one of the creature's own strengths, and then show them to not be quite up to the task. And tapping into this really kind of goes into your best may not be good enough. And so in these kind of 3 ways of tackling powerlessness, this can be easily represented by like resistance to blank sorts of damage.
Yeah, okay.
Now, why is important? You have to build that into the rules. This particular werewolf specifically hunts the clergy. It's resistant to radiant magic. Why? Okay. Because it's been blasted so many times that it's a smart enough hunter. It is no longer, right, like unawares of that kind of thing. Oh, okay. So in the paladin, radiant smites doesn't hurt it quite as bad as it used to.
Right.
Right. And that's because the creature has taken its little sips of poison all along to become resistant to that particular type of damage.
Okay.
Now, when we're talking about werewolves and kind of fantastical creatures or creatures that are going beyond, this is a great time to make them just resistant or immune, depending on how crazy you want to go, and what CR this is, to like piercing, bludgeoning, slashing, the 3 most prevalent types of damage in the game.
Do you think you should you let the players know about these sort of resistances and immunities in the exploration phase?
Yeah. This is the guard saying, we formed a line of spears and the spearheads bounced off its hide. Like it barely scratched the beast. No, listen to me. Spears don't work. Axes don't work. Like all of these things don't work.
Forks?
Maybe hammers do.
Knives?
Oh, interesting. Right. Okay. Cool. What else did you guys do? Oh, well, we had to surround the town in fire and whatever. Marigolds. Marigolds. What? Right? Like, okay, cool. So now we know that we can still fight the beast.
They discovered that marigolds. Anyways.
Maybe it attacked during a flower festival.
Right.
Right? Whatever. Okay, why is the flower festival important to the beast? Right? That was me signaling to you in Audioland to come up with creative answers to why the flower festival is so important. But these sorts of things should be told in the exploration phase. That's why. It should also be reminiscent of combat encounters that others have had with the creature to further show off and reinforce its strengths.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Right? It was brutal and it killed 5 guards, so the PCs won't get TPK'd. That's what I'm saying to you when I say we formed a line. The guards formed a defensive line and it blew through us like it was nothing there. The creature is powerful. It's quick. Our weapons did nothing. Let me repeat that for you, right? Like, and really, really make sure that you are emphasizing in it the woe and the sorrow of the guard who was unable to do it.
Our weapons did nothing. There's 5 of us. There's 5 of you. Your weapons will do nothing too. Yeah. If you're using the same as we were.
Right. And inspect. Look, ours are made from regular iron. We checked. The iron's good. How about yours? Yeah, it's good. It looks the same. I don't think your weapons are going to work. Right. It's that same kind of thing of like, are you sure you want to touch it? Right? Like, there's runes and warnings and all sorts of stuff over there. You're really sure you want to touch it? These sorts of things are not Deus Ex Machina. These are parts of the story that you're building into the exploration so that when you get to the combat, the rules, the understanding.
You're teaching the players the rules.
Correct. Without having them suffer the penalties of it. Now, maybe you do want them to suffer. Maybe you do want them to fight this beast when it's already fed, when it's already satiated, when it's already whatever, and it's just trying to leave said town or said caravan of traveler or whatever, right? And so it's not interested in fighting, but it just blows through the party. Nearly downs 2 or 3 members. It's not really a fight. It's just kind of walking away. And the party's like, oh, damn, what the hell was that?
Right.
And then they get to town, they get to whatever, and those people reinforce what just happened. Oh yeah, that exact same thing happened to us. I don't think this will work.
Yeah.
And then they go, we'll just hit it harder. And you go, okay, that won't work, but okay, go for it, right? Have an NPC, right? Have an NPC guide go, yeah, I've been tracking this thing. I know its movements, and have him like land a crit in quotation on it, right? Smack it right across its brow with a blade, and the blade snaps, and the creature just like kind of chuffs. You're like, oh. Or maybe he strikes at the shadow, and you see his sword break across a twisting shadow behind the tree, right? So you're not showing the monster type thing, right? And you're just like, yeah, doesn't work. Now's your chance to run. Right? Give them those moments when you are attempting to create that powerlessness, because when you full throttle that in their faces, there needs to be enough warning signs.
If you want them to run, you have to tell them to run.
Yes.
Like you have to kill the NPC. The NPC is going to have to say, run.
Yeah. As he gets dragged out of the light of their vision or whatever, right? Like
the NPCs will not, or the PCs will not run.
No, they generally don't. They generally don't.
Yeah.
And that's that kind of hopelessness. That not hopelessness, powerlessness.
Yes.
Right? Take away some of that ability that they believe they're going to win in that moment. And with that loss of control that happens in the environment around them, whether that's interacting directly with the creature or just being unable to impose their will on the world around them, because there's something else out there that's twisted and evil and chewing away at that, metaphorically or literally.
Right.
We built a wall.
Literally.
It still gets in. What do you mean it still gets in? Does the wall go all the way around? Yeah, it goes all the way around except for this one place. But nothing goes through there. That's the sewer.
Nothing goes through there.
Nothing goes through there, right? Like, oh, okay. Maybe we need to go check that place out. No, but it's smelly. Oh, okay.
There's a lock.
You can do that, but maybe those are red herrings as well.
Don't be mean.
No, as if it doesn't fit the rules,
okay.
You can throw it on a red herring where the PCs are like, oh, but that was never part of it. That's just
if you have leeways with your players,
right?
Because some will chase that for 3 months.
Yeah, we'll give it to them in a few kind of investigation rolls or whatever, or just like reiterate. What do you know about the beast? How does this work in with what you know? Right? If this is true, what would your next steps be? Does that sound right? Like you can work them through it slowly.
You sound like a narrator. Like a Baldur's Gate narrator. I thought that'd be an interesting tool for a DM to use. An omniscient narrator for the story.
Shout out to our AI episode. Maybe. Could be interesting.
It's interesting.
Could be interesting.
Anyways.
Where was I?
Sorry.
Oh, yes. No, and go beyond the physical. If we are really doing this, have a true sense of fear, not only mechanically embraced in the game, that goes out. Right? Try and make your players scared. Try and count up the details of how disgusting and disturbing and crazy this thing is, because it is. Right? Because that's what you need it to be.
Yeah.
Where you've decided what is monstrous about this, what is supposed to make them feel uncomfortable about this. Push it. Push it real good. And lastly, because we talk about this always, it should have a unique weakness.
Yes.
Right? It needs to have that Achilles heel to it, or that kind of Persian flaw.
Persian flaw?
Yeah, with the rugs.
I don't know.
Persian rug makers always used to have a misstitch purposefully in their rug because only God was perfect.
Interesting.
And so they used to purposefully make a misstitch, one, because their stuff still had to be awesome, because then the rug wasn't perfect.
Interesting.
So anyway.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So do that in your monsters, right? Give them a weakness. Marigold. Why are marigolds a weakness of this thing?
Right.
What's going on there? Is it because they're yellow? Is it because their smell is good? There's lots of things to investigate there, right? Maybe their father sold marigolds and then beat them. And so now they're afraid of marigolds because it reminds them of their fathers, says the werewolf, right?
Right.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Sorry, it's dark, but it could happen. It could be part of the backstory.
Yeah.
Now it's not a mindless beast. Now it's a wounded and lost child. Oh, damn. Now what do we do?
We got to kill it.
We gotta kill it with marigolds. Do it like Daddy does.
Wow. Jeez.
There should be in the rules.
The dad was a real hero. He failed. He failed.
He was keeping the evil down.
Jeez.
That's a weird twist.
Yeah. Let's not do that. Let's not go there.
Plan in your rules the weakness. So that once everything has been either fully uncovered through the exploration or looking back on the fight after they are victorious, even if there has been some losses or if they paid a terrible price for what's just happened, it should make sense why the weakness is what it is, where it is, like whatever's going on with it, why it is that way, right? And it should all make sense. And that will feed into the understanding of why this creature is kind of terrible, where it came from.
Right.
Why it's not a happy person, why it uncanny valleyed.
Right. Why it's more than just a beast.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Maybe that goblin was collecting bard heads.
Right.
And he learned a song from each of them and then he killed them so he wouldn't forget it.
Yeah, he asked him, "Remind me of that song? What was the song?" Every night, it's like, just sing it again.
Yeah, speak with dead. Oh, it's a goblin that can always speak with dead.
Oh, it's creepy. It's creepy.
I love him. Yeah, I love little ghost goblin bard. He's awesome.
Funny.
I do like him.
I like goblins. I'm partial to goblins.
You are partial to goblin.
No, that idea of being more than a beast, I think, is key to making something really monstrous, though. I feel like, and I talked about it briefly earlier, that only humans can be monsters. Only the human can be a monster. Because I think the true monster is human, right? There's malevolence, and then there's things that are more than just malevolent. They're human. Okay? Because there is a difference between a soldier who goes to war and kills people, right? And the serial killer who takes pleasure in the pain and the killing and the removal of life of someone else, right? That malevolence. And it's a uniquely human thing. Unique enough. Right?
As I say, great backstory too. Kid grows up, has bad tendencies, joins the army so that he can exert his tendencies without being punished for it.
War
sadly
ends.
Gets discharged or the war ends, comes back home, still feeds into these monster.
Right. Exactly. Like humans are monsters. And if you look at all the classical monsters, like the werewolf, Frankenstein, vampires, blah, blah, blah.
Frankenstein was the doctor.
Frankenstein's monster.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Poor, he gets such a bad rap.
Right. Or like mummies, right? They're human. Like they're human monsters. They're not just a terrible wolf, a large wolf that's just killing people and eating them, right? They've got a certain amount of monstrousness that's unique to humanity, I feel like. And I think if you add that taste of humanity, of the human malevolence into your monsters, they will then start to feel truly creepy. Because that also adds the Uncanny Valley, adds all that kind of stuff in there as well.
Can we park on that for 1 sec?
Okay.
Because like in each of those examples, the werewolf, Frankenstein's monster, and like the mummy, each of those are human emotions or kind of facets that are pushed to the point where they become monstrous. So that the werewolf is the primal nature of man bursting out beyond his civility. Frankenstein's monster is the curiosity and exploration of science or something until it turns
God
on it, playing God, going beyond our means of control. The mummy is an antidote to exploration or additional curiosity and greed, right? Like these are all antidotes to kind of the sins of people's expressions.
Yes. No, absolutely.
Right.
And I think the difference between just whatever malevolence and human malevolence is that moral transgression that you're talking about.
Yes.
Right? That's what makes it human.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. You weren't about to say that, were you?
What? Yeah.
That?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, damn. Damn.
That was my next point.
I was trying to segue you.
Moral transgressions.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. You just transgressed, you monster.
But do it. Take those emotions all the way out to where they become twisted.
Yep. Any sort of thing that you want to make monstrous, add that to it. Right? It can be human, or humanoid. It can be an animal, just a normal animal, a deer that just eats meat. It's just right, or it
Black Friday. Just a day where you get deals, right?
Right, deals. That's it. Deer, not deals.
No, I know.
Oh, okay.
It's just a day where you get deals if you go to the store on Black Friday, right?
Right, so the deer is going to go.
Oh, yeah.
So the deer is just standing in line to get deals.
In line. He's like, I can really use that new plasma.
Unfortunately, that's not a moral transgression.
Oh, it is when if you don't get in front of the deer when he's charging for his plasma.
Right.
HDT.
So anyway, so if you want to make a monster feel more monstrous, make them violate human moral codes.
Yes.
Not moral ethics necessarily.
No.
But moral codes, like morality that's sort of common to all humans.
Correct.
Right? Except for the ones who are monsters.
Where do they go 11 out of 10?
Right.
Right on the scale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. For example, things like anything at an explicit intent to cause suffering, fear, or harm to others. That's a moral transgression to like all humans, really. And if it's not a moral transgression to you, you may be a monster. Right? Yeah. Right? That because if you give that to a deer, that deer is a monster straight up, right away.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, and this, because this intent sets them apart from creatures that are driven solely by instinct, right? Or survival, right? Like, a wolf will eat and kill humans to survive, to eat, right? As a sort of instinctual drive, right?
If necessary, yeah.
But that malevolence implies a conscious choice to inflict pain or misery. That's what it's doing. Mm-hmm. It's not because it's hungry, not because it needs to survive or it's an instinct. It's because it wants to cause suffering, fear, and harm.
Mm-hmm.
Creepy, super monstrous, right? Is it very monstrous maybe for a wolf? No, but it's monstrous enough. Like it's just adding that just bumps up the level of monstrosity.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Right. And related to that, I think human malevolence is also often related to cruelty, right? And a willingness to go to like great lengths to inflict suffering on others, right? And it can come out in various ways, anything from like bullying to like manipulation to physical violence and abuse. And typically someone who's cruel also takes pleasure in the suffering of others.
In order to be cruel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Like the wolf, sure, it's trained to cause suffering and harm and fear.
Right.
But now it likes it.
Mm-hmm.
It just does it for fun.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't just kill you. It just makes you suffer. Right? And then it kills you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cruelty, right? Someone who's malevolent might engage in manipulation and deceit to achieve their goals, right? So like they have this ability to deceive and lure others into dangerous situations, and that would automatically sort of adds that element of psychological horror to it, right? It's now not just a wolf who enjoys inflicting harm and suffering on humans, and now it deceives them and lures them into the forest.
Yeah, now it's a wolfware.
Right.
Yeah.
It's step by step becoming more and more monstrous as we layer in more of that human malevolence into there, right? Because it's so human, because we instinctually can recognize this kind of malevolence, and it hits us deep inside in our morals.
Yeah.
Hits me right in the morals. Oh, right. And it creates this sense of dread and what?
We'd be okay. Yeah, just gonna hit the morals. I'll walk it off.
But yeah, the specifically human malevolence is what makes us feel dread as we anticipate that in the story, as we build that exploration of this creature, right? We see that human malevolence in the actions, right? In the results of what it's done.
Interesting.
Because when we know that a creature or an entity is capable of that human maliciousness, right? We become anxious about their next move, right? And it heightens that suspense and that horror because we understand it. Because it's in us.
Okay.
Human malevolence. We just choose to suppress it.
So I have a question.
Okay.
Based on that, right? Is it enough to have an inference and not an implication of that human malevolence? Or does it have to be a genuine action or a genuine thing that it is human malevolence being at play?
So, I think an inference is enough. Because if we're talking about, because the only thing that really matters here in the end is the player experience.
Okay.
So if they feel it, that it's malevolent, that's enough, whether it is or not.
Awesome.
Like the apple in the forest, as long as they feel that it's creepy, right? It's just it may be a normal apple, it may not be, but it doesn't matter. It feels creepy because of the experience of the players.
Awesome. Because I was thinking as you're describing this, and we're going through this wolf that apparently isn't killing people, but it's tormenting them. Right. Which is weird because wolves kill for the hunt, for food, not for pleasure. Right? We're like, oh, no, it only takes live victims. It drags them off into the woods. Right? Okay, that's malevolent. That's scary. That's creepy. That's fate worse than death, because then it just takes you out there and it eats you slowly or whatever.
Well, it takes a child, it brings it to the father's camp out in the woods and it eats it there.
Eats the kid at the dad's camp. It's like, oh, you're missing your dad? Let me take you to go see him.
Okay. Right? Like, that's malevolent. That's cruel.
That is cruel. The way that I was envisioning it was it's pulling it back to its den or whatever, where it's got its kids or its pups.
Right.
And it's teaching the pups how to hunt people, but it's bringing them like wounded, weakened versions of that so that they can learn. But if the players don't deal with that, now they've got a whole pack that knows how to hunt
the one
people.
that I described is much more monstrous.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you see that kid on the milk carton? I think I found him. Yep, definitely found him. You can stop looking.
My son.
My dog is laughing. This wolf is tormenting me. This is the worst day ever.
Oh, brutal.
Sorry, no, I wanted to clarify that, whether it needs to be or it needs to present as.
Well, it depends, right? If it's just inference, then it feels monstrous.
Okay.
If it's more than just inference, if it just is, then it truly is a monster.
Yes.
And that's, I guess, the
layers
difference.
And levels.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, cool.
Because you can have things that are monsters that don't seem like monsters until later. Right? Until they're like, oh, like you're not just the friendly priest at the church. You are a horrible person who's been like, I don't know, converting people to a devilish cult. Right? Without them knowing, and no one knows. Like when you find that out, like you didn't seem like a monster, but now you are. But you were a monster the whole time.
Yes.
Right. So this causes that emotional impact in us.
The wolf in sheep's
that malevolence in a monster should elicit strong emotional responses. That's how you know you're doing it right. Right. So fear, anger, disgust. Those are the golden three.
Oh.
Right? Of emotions.
The golden trio of monstrosity.
If you can elicit those emotions.
Fear.
Anger. Disgust. That is human malevolence. For those of you listening, it's a triple hook motion.
Triple hooks.
One for fear, one for anger, one for disgust.
Nice.
Right? And that's really the key elements to making a monster feel like a genuine monster. Is fear, anger, disgust.
Yeah.
Right? Learn to love it. Learn to love it.
Yeah, be comfortable in what you are creating.
Yeah.
It's only a one shot. It's only a one thing. Like
right. Or maybe it's not. Maybe you're truly playing a campaign where you're exploring monsters and dealing with monsters and so forth. And that one got kind of heavy at that point. But I think it's one of the key things to making something really a monster.
Oh, you handled it gracefully.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with those three.
Until the wolf dragged a kid to the dad. Then it got real dark.
I don't know. I think it's still better than the dad beating his own son up because...
Miracle?
Yeah.
Okay, we're 1 for 1. We're 1 for 1. The score is tied. Oh, and I still have to talk. Because I haven't spoken about the third pillar, role play.
Third great pillar.
Third great pillar.
It's an okay pillar.
It's the one I kind of like to dabble with.
You know.
And this one, fitting the theme, I would say Why, Grandma, what big eyes you have.
Senpai.
So we've talked a little bit about this, and so this is going to be, I think, reinforcing and interacting with kind of what some of the stuff that we've talked about before. But it's really important that we are pushing that X factor, the unknown.
Yeah.
While I do a little Korean heart here. It's
you know what this is? It's a Korean heart.
Korean heart. We need to discover the fear of the unknown.
Okay.
And this is often where it stems from, right?
Uncanny Valley, right? It's the
Uncanny
unknown.
Valley.
Yep.
You can have body horror. You can have gore horror. You can have psychological horror. You can have Cthulhu-esque, I don't know what type of horror that is, cosmic
horror.
Right? Like you can have all of these different things. All of them stem from fear of the unknown. What's it? Yeah. No, they don't play nice because it conflicts with a gray area in our memories or our knowledge and our experience. How do we do this?
But it's also that primal part.
Yeah.
We fear the unknown.
That lizard brain. One of the things that we can look at is mirroring our inspirations with their own versions of naughty mythological stories.
Oh.
So if we're building an area that we are trying to remake feudal Japan, then we look at Japanese folklore to kind of reinforce the kind of not natural, in quote unquote, but like the types of monsters and the types of things that sort of society might fear or look out for, because we're building that socially, we're building that physically, we're building that as inspiration.
Right.
We can also lump on those psychological fears and whatnot to round out our society and build up from that as narrators and world builders.
If you're gonna mention Japanese folklore,
no, we're not going to go. No, we're not. Well, I mean, go for it.
Can you talk about the flying dog head?
No, you can talk about the flying dog head.
So, I don't know how true this is, guys, but apparently
100% true.
One of the monsters that they have in Japanese folklore is
heel doggos.
And how you create it is that you take a dog, a perfectly nice dog, I guess, and you bury it up to its neck underground. And then you may want to jump ahead a minute. You got a minute to tell us in case you don't like it. It is kind of rough. Yeah. So Sean will tell this in a minute or less. Okay. And then so basically you place food in front of it just out of its reach, so it cannot eat it, and it slowly gets hungrier and hungrier and hungrier and starving until it almost. You skip the step of starving it, and then when it's weak and then you give it food, and when it reaches out for the food. Oh, is that what it was? Yeah. I left the food there the whole time. Yeah. Anyways, you did. Yeah. So I can see the food. And then as it's almost about to die of starvation, you bring the food closer so it reaches out and puts its mouth on the food. You cut off its head, and the dog head that's filled with all the resentment and all the pain and suffering of starving to death, and then being denied it at the end, flies off, and it becomes this like evil flying dog head spirit ghost that chases down its victims. Yeah. So it's a rather terrible way of creating. There's another one with insects in a jar too, but which is far less malevolent, I suppose. It's because we don't care about insects. That's why. Correct, because we're not going to anthropomorphize them, but we love dogs. They do that in Japan, though. Well, their folklore stated that these sorts of things were done to invoke evil spirits, and this is how you create evil spirits. Oh no, I don't think the Japanese actually did this to dogs. I don't think so, but they definitely do anthropomorphize insects. Yeah, sorry. They do that to everything, senpai. Yeah, they do, Grandma. So when we're looking at these sorts of things, we can look at the folklore and kind of the horror stories of those societies and bring them in. So even in like fantasy, we've got, like the elves. Oh, the elves love everything, blah, blah, blah. They live in nature. Okay, great. Well, the elves also are super afraid of something called the Kunanun. Right? Yes. Which are these like bloodthirsty shadow hounds that slink into the Feywild from the Shadowfell, and they hunger specifically for elven blood. Yeah.
And they will go, like in a party, they will specifically attack the elves first. Wherever they are, whatever's going on, they'll hunt the elves. Or if the party's been in contact with an elf, like an elven PC splits from the party, they'll hunt the party because the party smells like an elf, right? But they have this bloodlust and this singular focus on these things. So the elves know to fear them. It's in their folklore. They also exist in Welsh and Celtic folklore as part of the Great Hunt, which is another kind of
interesting,
crazy super story.
Weird.
They're white with like red ears and stuff in Celtic folklore.
Cross-cultural evil dog lore.
Yeah. Yeah. Dog lore. Yeah.
Evil dog lore.
Evil dog lore. Never thought I would say that. But welcome
Things
to D&D.
you say when you play D&D.
Evil dog lore. If we look for these sorts of things that exist in our real world inspiration, it eases the burden of us creating the kind of dark side of those cultures and those people. And
there's so much real world stuff.
And there's so much. It doesn't matter what you are looking for. There is something dangerous and terrifying and goes bump in the night that has scared children into eating their vegetables for all time.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, because we're all like weak, naked, flimsy beasts in the world as humans, right? Absolutely. At one point, where like you could just die at a drop of a hat. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why we celebrate when a baby survives 3 months. In Asia, it's a thing.
Oh,
at like 3 months, at 3 months, you have a celebration for your baby because it's still alive.
I did not know this.
Oh yeah, and then after 3 months, the baby is much more. The chance of it surviving is much higher.
Right.
But before 3 months, I guess it used to be that babies died all the time.
This is
if it reaches 3 months, it's a thing of celebration.
Infant mortality has gone way down recently. So yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very good. Okay.
Yeah, but we had a thing like that for my son as well.
Kind of real world heavy. Oh, I wasn't invited. Cool. Moving on. So
it was great.
Whatever. Your kid's dumb. So
He is.
Yeah, but we can save ourselves, like I said, the burden of coming up with that creative stuff because we can look at the dark side of the real inspiration that we're building, right? Mm-hmm. Every culture has it. They are interesting deep dives into the psychology of that culture as well, because these are the representations, these are the symbols of what they feared.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So the Japanese, in this case, very fearful of the spiritual entities of the world, the Tengus and all that, Asia in general, right? So spirits are crazy and scary, and man never goes up against spirits and wins, right?
Yep.
And that's just one of the rules that you have when you go over there to their folklore. See The Grudge. Moving beyond that, this is how we can aid in building true suspense, because there's examples that are more horrific than you can think of.
Yes.
Whatever you can think of, there has been time-tested strategies for scaring children that go far beyond anything that you can kind of come up with on the spot.
Yeah.
And by going a little bit or a deep dive into these things, you can also add in what elements do they foreshadow? What stories are they trying to tell? Or what does this include?
The monsters.
The monsters. What is this particular fable? What is the lesson? And what is the kind of implement of strife and struggle that they're using to personify both sides of this argument, both the virtue and
it's interesting
kind of the,
because monsters are really they are cautionary tales, like a lot of mythological stuff.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And that's okay. That's good.
Right. That's their purpose, right? That's why we have them. It's interesting.
Now, using these elements, using whatever you're doing, do reinforce the slow build, or as slow as your pace allows. Right? Do try to infuse, if you have a one shot with this creature, from the first moment, maybe you put in a little vignette of the creature tearing through the town. Right? You don't ever see it. You just see its effects, right? Like they do in early movies, not early movies, but in early parts of movies where you see the blood spray against the wall, but you don't actually, or you see the guard standing there and then it's a blood spray against the wall.
Right.
You don't see the creature. You're just like, oh, he did. But something moved quickly. We saw the shadow move across the wall, past the lantern light, whatever. We saw the bright eyes out in the darkness. Whatever little tidbits you're throwing
out there. Or like
the
guard's body falls into the camera frame and you see a slash. Across the chest. Yeah.
I mean, you could even go so far as if you've got like a powerful creature or one that is expressing fear and terror, do a reverse familiar on your PCs. have the monster forcefully take over their senses for a round where you can see through the beast's eyes staring at the party. Right. You can see yourself and you know it's that direction and you know it's 60 yards over there and it's watching you.
Yeah.
And in the round where you're kind of, you come back to being you look over there and it's gone.
It's gone. Of course it is.
Right? Or it's too far to see or it's whatever.
Yeah.
Do you go in that direction? Like, do you confront it now not knowing what you're getting into?
Mm-hmm.
Have these sorts of slow build things where you can show more ways of scaring the party without revealing the monster.
Yes. That's important. Don't reveal the monster until you, I think, have to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's some ways to break that and you'd be okay. But most of the time, we're practicing, we're trying to add fear, add monstrosity. Start there. Try and avoid seeing.
Yep.
I'll talk about that in a sec. So do the slow build, do the hide and seek, do the partial reveal, do kind of adhere to the rules, but give out those false alarms, right? Oh, we know that John Jones in the bar has been wanting to kill Farmer Ted for a long time.
John Jones.
And Farmer Ted shows up dead.
Right.
And we're like, this looks like it was the monster, but it doesn't. It's not as ragged. This looks like it was done by a pitchfork, not claws, right? You're like, oh, John Jones, you tried to get away with it. But we know, right? We know that this doesn't match up with whatever the rules are, right? It didn't drag them off to eat them in front of their dad and their lucky camp. It didn't do whatever it was going to do. It didn't follow. And so because we know that it didn't follow the rules, we know that this isn't the monster. This is something else.
That wolf is a good guy. It's like, here, Dad, I killed your wolf-wear son, or a werewolf son. He was destroying the town.
Yeah.
This is for you. He runs off.
This bite's for you. The deep impact and the timing are also super important. We talked about the deep impact.
Yes.
But timing, pace, right? When you've got that visually distinct and unique creature, maybe it looks like a wolf, but it's got green eyes. No other wolf has green eyes in this world, right? That's what stands out about it. That shows you that it's got a lick of intelligence to it, right? You can also use that to kind of reinforce, oh, look, the next spring, a litter of green-eyed wolves came out. Oh, damn, we didn't finish the bloodline. Right? You saved the town for now, right? Next season's going to be this all over again times 10, right?
I feel like pacing is really important, actually.
Super important.
I think it's not the first instinct for DMs to go slow.
That is 100% correct.
Right? Because the players will always be pushing. But I think when it comes to building a monster and everything goes around a monster, going slow is but it's the way to go, I think.
Especially when you're focusing on yes-anding and you're focusing on telling a good story. You're focusing on this and that. You sometimes forget to take a breath and just chill. Right, and just relax and tell your story at this pace. That's uncomfortable because it's slow. Right. And right.
Like, and it's slow. Why is it slow? Because slow is intentional.
Correct.
Right. And when you're intentional, it's more malevolent.
It can be. It can read as
right.
Such. Yeah.
Like I don't just kill you. I kill you slowly.
Because you're not a threat. I don't have to do it fast.
Yeah.
I'm in no danger. Right. And this focusing on the pace, focusing on the most amount of time before you come to that climactic kind of combat or whatever encounter it is that's going to defeat said beast, right? Check your symbolism, right? Like just like I was saying before, check your symbolism. Is it representing what you want it to represent? Did you properly tell the story, making the aspect of monstrosity as monstrous as you wanted it to? Right. This is kind of, I suppose, in your prep that you're going to be doing this. But like, make sure that you are. Make sure that you are checking yourself to make sure that you are spending enough time talking about it, giving enough examples, having enough encounters that will reinforce this. And when you're done all of that, and when you're into the practical application of it, I think you need to avoid and restrict certain senses. And specifically,
Like sight, sound, taste,
sight. Yeah.
touch.
Yeah. Of the 5 senses,
Telepathy.
6 senses, really try and knock out sight and telepathy.
For sure. Telepathy is... Yeah, it's scary without telepathy.
Right.
I don't know how you guys do it.
And you can do this and prime or prompt the players to do this with your music that you're playing at your session. If you play music, your sound effects that you're using, use unsettling things, use ambience, use twisted kind of soundscapes because they're out there, right? And when you get to tense places, whether you're building up the volume a little bit or like the pocket bard has like that intensity meter or whatever.
Yep.
When you get to a key moment, turn it off. Don't give them that kind of help to feel.
It's creepy, and all you hear is like the sound effects. Oh, I hate that.
Yeah.
In like video games, you're like, don't. Because that you're like, oh, something's different. Something's coming.
You're being prompted for something scary.
Yeah.
So it becomes something scarier.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So this is activating that auditory listening, right? In the world, as players, we're going to get this.
Yes.
And then kind of expose that through the character. Go into tactile sensations. Use that descriptive language, right? Describe its texture, its temperature, any kind of physical sensation that you might get from it, right? Start small in those descriptions and then generate them as you encounter it, as you just missed it, as you can determine through investigations after the effect, right? Oh, its blood is still warm.
Right.
But there's frost on the ground. Its blood is still warm. It hasn't chilled yet.
Right.
What the hell is that?
It was just here.
Get the marigold. No, it was here last night.
It's hot blood.
Hot blood, right? What does this tell you? This should inform you in those rules, in that logical thing, right? Very rarely do we often express tactile senses when we're going in. But go into places where players are uncomfortable. I don't know what to do with hot blood 2 hours later. Does that mean something? Is blood supposed to get cold? Yeah, blood gets cold when it's outside the body. Why isn't this blood getting cold?
It's still in the body.
It's Mimic Town. Right. Go in and play with those different things, right? And really when you get into it, using your descriptive language, going in into senses that you don't normally play with, you're going to generate an immersive experience that people will remember because it's new.
Right.
And when we cross into that, it'll always be something that people remember, not only because it was scary, not only because it was fun, but it was the first time that they ever thought that like the feeling of fur was the way to figure out which one was the beast.
Oh, that's creepy.
Because it was a deer. It was a lamb. It was a whatever, right? You found some sort of meat-eating lamb in folklore.
Right. You need to touch the fur, and the fur that grabs onto your fingers is the one that's the monster.
No, we need to cut the nails of all the women in the village because the one that keeps growing after is the witch.
Ugh.
Right? And so you're just like, and then you put all the nail clippings on the table and you're just where did you get this?
That's gross.
Freaky. It's okay. They said okay. But you're like, okay, what can I do? What sensations can I play with that they are not expecting? Right? What atmosphere can I set that will further push this into those unexplored places?
Right.
And really kind of create a sense of exploration through that role play that they're going through.
I just want to say, if you want to find the witch, just go find the lady with the candy house.
And the laughing dog. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'll lend to a lot of really monstrous encounters in like game design. If you really want to punch it up for tomorrow.
No, it's cool, actually. I like it. It's really interesting. I would like to experience a campaign like that, actually, or an adventure or one shot. Because I haven't had the chance yet. The pleasure.
The pleasure?
Yeah, the pleasure. Maybe this Halloween.
Maybe. Or if you haven't done one, maybe do your very own Nightmare Before Christmas. And instead of Christmas, if you're not a Christmas person and you're like an All Hallows Eve person,
Yeah.
Plan one for a couple months down the road.
Nightmare Before Halloween. Yeah.
Nightmare Before Nightmare.
Heard you like nightmares.
Yeah. So do try and maybe incorporate some of these things if you want your everyday goblin, your everyday bugbear. Maybe give your bugbear mandibles. Now he is a bugbear.
Well, the things that we talked about here, though, you can make anything monstrous.
Yes.
Right? And you don't even need a stat block for them.
No.
Right? Like you can make just a level 0 human tavern keep into a monster. Or feel like one. Right? And that's the beauty of the stuff that we talked about, I think. So you can make anything. You can make an apple, you can make a spoon, you can make whatever, like the gravel in the town monstrous by employing these techniques.
And get into your local monsters manual. Read. Flick through the pages. See what inspires you. Go through your folklore.
Well, then the folklore is crazy. There's so much, and it's so disturbing.
Yeah.
Like, who came up with this? Because I couldn't have.
Like a kelpie. It's a horse made out of seaweed. It just wants you to ride it.
Or a Japanese kappa. It's like this little frog guy who lives in the lakes. But you don't know is that he pulls your soul out of your butt.
How do you pronounce it?
Kappa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kappa.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Kappa.
They seem cute, but the
ones
lore is
not. Water in their head? Or you got to tip the water or drink from the water?
Something like that. Yeah.
Whatever. Don't play with spirits in Japan. You always lose. That's one of their rules. Don't do it.
But do play with the stuff that we talked about.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you're primed and ready for that Halloween session. Right? With all the stuff that we talked about. So, enjoy. Happy Halloween.
Ooh.
But in the meantime, this has been Caffeine and Cantrips.
I was Byron.
And I'm still Sean. Join us next time. Or else. Oh, we have to do the...
Are we doing the thing?
Of course we're always doing the motions, right? The motions.